I was the poorest child in our class. Mom never gave money to theaters, circuses, and so on. When everyone else went to the performances, I went home. Our house was always dirty. We didn't always have sugar available. Meat rarely ever appeared on the table. But Mom never denied herself the desire to drink. If Mom was tired, then she relaxed in the only way, with the help of burnt vodka or 3 liters of light beer. When I went to the 1st grade, I tasted beer out of curiosity. Mom and her friend went out to the store, and there was an open bottle on the table. I poured myself a glass of beer. I will never forget this bitter, nasty taste. I couldn't finish my drink. I poured the leftovers into the sink and washed the glass behind me so that my mother wouldn't find out and didn't pour it in. Mom didn't pay attention to me and my brother. We grew like grass. We studied every other time. Now I'm amazed that they graduated from school at all. We spent whole days running on the street. We had lunch at friends' houses from time to time. I've always been amazed at how delicious people can have lunch. We often had lunch consisting either of pasta alone or porridge. Even as a child, I knew that Santa Claus does not exist. Otherwise, why didn't he give me presents for Christmas? My brother and I were lucky. We grew up as normal people. But this is not the merit of the mother at all. I still remember how she treated us. Resentment has persisted to this day for the phrase, "I don't owe you anything." Now I am 35 years old. My mom has already aged. Now I don't owe her anything either. My brother left to serve under a contract. My husband and I also moved to another city. I don't want to live in the same city with my mom, and I don't need to keep in touch with her. When I was 8 years old, my parents divorced. My father immediately left for almost the other end of the country, and I stayed with my mother. We lived with her like not bad, amicably. But after 2 years, she brought a man Brandon into the house, and said that he would be my new father. Somehow we didn't get along right away. He found fault with me because of every little thing. Either he left the textbook there, or he didn't wash the mug. And I didn't like his drunken comings home after receiving advances and salaries. Later, my mom stunned me with the news that she was pregnant, and I realized that Brandon was staying with us for a long time. Now a lot has been erased from memory, but it seems that my mother had a difficult pregnancy and my sister was born prematurely. The baby was screaming all the time, and the adults were quarreling. I became a burden to my mother, although I tried to help her with cleaning and partly in cooking. And one day, crying, my mother said that she had agreed that she would temporarily send me to an orphanage. I was terribly scared, but I believed her that it wouldn't last long. For 6 months, she never came to see me, and then they told me that temporary life in the orphanage turns into permanent. They completely abandoned me. It seemed to me that this was the end of life and no one needed me. At that time I was already 12 years old and, of course, no one was eager to adopt me. I was very lucky with the tutors and volunteers. We were not only supported and taught, but also prepared for adulthood. The girls mastered sewing, knitting, cooking, and we boys mastered carpentry. By the way, I decided to connect my life with this profession. In the orphanage, different things happened to me, good and bad, sad and funny. But when I entered adulthood, I still tried to find my mom. By this time, they had already sold the apartment and moved in. No one knew where. I never managed to find her, and now I don't even know if she's alive, because it's been 14 years. This story is more of an excuse, although I don't think it will fix anything. It's more like a way to get your thoughts in order, and a warning. Although it is clearly not understood by those to whom it is truly addressed. Did I have another way? Perhaps. It's a pity that there was no one to help me or at least stop me. Now I am 22 years old. I am working. I didn't get an education and I'm not going to get one. Now I have enough money for food, clothes and housing, but it wasn't like that 6 years ago. When I was 14, my mother started drinking. Sometimes she was not at home for several days. The first time she disappeared for 2 days. I didn't know anything about her. I was terribly scared and called the police. A policeman was sent to me, and that same evening the mother returned. He talked to her. Then she already talked to me. She explained that I was an ungrateful son and had already set the cops on her. That very night her man came to talk to me. He knocked out my jaw and broke the little finger on my right hand. It is worth noting that the finger does not unbend until now. That bastard took me by surprise while I was sleeping. I didn't call anywhere else and didn't tell anyone about the spree. One day the mother disappeared once again. On the second day of her absence, the house ran out of food. I collected a little change in all corners. The money was enough for 2 loaves of bread and 5 sausages. I wanted to eat very much, so I ate a loaf of bread and sausages on the 3rd day. On the 4th, I had already finished the remaining loaf of bread. At school, I didn't tell anyone about the situation because I knew they would report it to the police or somewhere else. I didn't miss classes either and tried to study better so that there was no reason to call my mother to school. But after school, I began to catch guys a year younger and extort money from them. He spent all his money on food, toilet paper, toothpaste and soap. I bought it for the future. I made a stock of pasta, buckwheat and rice. I tried not to buy meat or milk, as they were not stored for a long time, and I could not cook properly then. On day 7, I took away a fabulous sum, $15. That evening I had a whole feast. I bought chocolate, sweet roll and melted cheese. By the end of the day, the doorbell rang. I thought it was Mom, but there was a boy on the threshold from whom I took the money, the boy's father, a policeman and a neighbor. A juvenile colony was waiting for me. The funny thing is that after returning, I didn't look for my mother, but she found me herself. I don't know why. I don't know why she calls me and reproaches me for not being interested in her life. I don't care about her. I don't think I'll ever be able to forgive. But thanks to her for instilling a hatred of alcohol. I'm afraid to get drunk. I'm afraid of becoming a brute. I don't hope that the grown-up guys will forgive me for taking money from them, and beating some of them. But I'm ashamed of it. Really ashamed. Put a like. Subscribe to the channel so as not to miss new stories.